Welcome to Sleighingit.Online's weekly podcast, where sometimes we slay it,
Sometimes we don't.
we're not perfect.
We're just gamers.
Hi, I'm Red the Deer, and I'm the owner for Sleighingit.Online.
Hi, my name is Victoria Aurora, and I'm the Director of Branding and Marketing, as well as Content Creator for Sleighingit.Online.
And we'd like to invite you to come on a walk with us. We figured this would be a fun new way to demonstrate our podcast recordings. So the idea is we're basically just going to roleplay walk through a zone while we podcast. Give you guys a little visual stimulation as well as feel a little nostalgic for some of these older zones. I figured it was appropriate to start in Elwyn Forest because
It's always very nostalgic here in the first area of Stormwind after you get through your loading, your new character starting zone. This is usually where you go next, just like Armagar, right?
yeah, most Alliance players are extremely familiar with Elwyn Forest, the same way that I'm sure most Horde players are familiar with Duratar. So we figured we'd start here, and we'll change up the zone every single podcast, especially based off what we're talking about. But the main topics of today, if you guys read the title, are the 4 iterations of World of Warcraft and how absolutely crazy it is that there's 4 videos or 4 different versions of the game right now.
What's this guy doing? What's this guy doing?
He's just guarding this area.
What's this guy fucking doing? Is he looking at me? Is he looking at me?
No, he's
Is
just,
he fucking looking at me?
baby, come on.
Are you trying to fight? Are you trying to fight, bro? Trying to
So
fight?
it's crazy that there's 4 iterations of World of Warcraft right now. By that, if you're not aware, if you've not played WoW in a while, first off, thank you for listening. We appreciate it. Second off, go try out any one of these 4 games. They're great. But to list them all in order of current content, there's Season of Discovery Classic, which is original vanilla World of Warcraft with a twist. There's random new quests. They've changed all the classes. They've added new content such as raids, and they've did a really cool release schedule program where you get to certain level caps. So originally when the game was released, the level cap was level 20. Now it's all the way up on 50. And like I said, there's plenty of new contents, new reputations, a bunch of things to do. And that game has been going on for a couple months now, almost a year, I think, which is crazy that that's even existing. Like, they're making new content for Classic WoW, which is wild. The second version of the game is the current Classic Progression server. That's what I've been calling it. It started in vanilla, and then it worked to BC, Wrath, and now, literally last week, just got released the Cataclysm version of Classic. And that was a massive release. We're going to dive deep into my experience in the first couple days of that. But moving on to the next part of the game that you can play, which is retail World of Warcraft, current experience game, end game content, nothing old about it. Every single time they release a patch, it's brand new, never seen before content. That is currently in Dragonflight on its final season, moving into the War Within towards August timeframe. So as that's winding down, these other servers are starting to ramp up. And then the last iteration of the game, which also was surprisingly released the same exact week that Cataclysm Classic got released, which is Mists of Pandaria Remix. Now, I've described it as a level up gimmick, but really it could be its own endgame progression style system where you... It's an alt builder, which I think at its core will always be, but there are people that are forming guilds in it and running the raids and mythic progression and doing other things to like get their characters as strong as possible, which I didn't think was something that would ever happen in that system. It was really just for collecting as many things as you could and leveling up characters. What is happening in Goldshire right now?
Something's happening.
There's a lot of dead people right here. Hold on. We're walking into a murder scene. This is crazy.
Are we PvPing?
I think there might be people dueling, and there might be a rogue. Yeah, just like that. So there's a Horde player that is killing people as they duel. So there's a lot of dead homies, which is kind of we're just gonna ignore what's happening.
Look at all the dead bodies on the roof and stuff. This is so funny.
This is so crazy. We did not plan this. This is just your casual day in Goldshire, bro. All right, left or right, baby. Big decision. So me and Vic have very different experiences in all 4 of these iterations of the game. The first one we'd like to talk about is Cataclysm Classic. Because I feel like that's the one that me and you both have the most experience in right now.
Yeah, I mean, Cataclysm is definitely one of your favorite expansions, and you've been very adamant about us playing together. And with that, I think that You have shown me the differences from when I played through my Worgen the first time and technically the retail of the time.
Yeah, which was Legion time frame.
Right, because that's when I started playing. But to me, the storyline is so well developed during that expansion. At least when you play a Worgen. I mean, I guess if you play any other character, it's just the same as it was before. But
well, the starting zones all changed. They did a whole revamp. Everything changed when Cataclysm happened. So
like you always say that, but like I've never seen any changes.
we're gonna
Like this is the same starting zone. This is the same
cos-
place.
cosmetically, some of them changed cosmetically. Some of them
Okay.
changed. A lot of them, almost all of them, changed storyline wise.
Oh, okay.
Like there was no Blackrock orcs in Northshire. In fact, if we walk up there, you see like this burn patch there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bunch of Blackrock orcs that they added in Goldshire before it used to be, or Northshire, before it used to be Defias Brotherhood. So they did change the zone storyline wise, which I think is the beauty of Cataclysm. What you're touching base on, which is they really figured out how to tell stories in Cataclysm.
UI.
Oh. She wants it without UI, but it's fine either way.
So I think that
They came in their own in story writing, which is what we were talking about.
I mean they definitely care about story development, and they had a smaller team back then, so they could be a little less. It could be more linear.
Yeah, linear is definitely the right phrase
I was
there.
trying to think of the right verbiage.
Yeah, no,
but
linear is right. That is correct.
It felt very why we were there was a purpose. Instead of now, it kind of feels like they are constantly trying to like make up reasons why. Or like everyone's going off in their own direction. Like we could do the like Sylvanas thing, or we could go do the we could go help this the centaur thing, and then we there's like almost like they're all interconnected, absolutely, because that's just how they plan it. But this one just feels a little bit more like us against one greater evil.
Yeah, there's definitely
Same thing with Miss Pandaria in a sense. Like,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was more of the narrative, I guess.
It's better story writing, so you have better purpose of why you're doing things. A lot of people hated when they made it linear. So the quest zones used to be what I would call dynamic. You could choose to go quest in the north part of the zone, or the south part of the zone, or the east part or west part, depending on your level and gear or what you needed, what quests you needed to get done. And if you reach a certain level part, such as like in Classic, if you get to like level 17, you could change zones completely without missing too much.
I don't like that though.
A lot of people don't.
I like a more RPG style. Like Skyrim, you can go do side quests, but you could also like go along the story and develop your character in a sense. Sometimes WoW kind of loses me on that aspect of like I don't care about who I am anymore.
Correct. And I think bringing up Skyrim is a really interesting idea there, because Skyrim to me is one of the most dynamic questing experiences possible.
But it is, but you still have a cohesive storyline. You still have a cohesive like why you're there, who you are. You're developing who you are. You're developing if you want to learn more abilities. You're developing if you want to learn crafting. You choose a type of crafting, and it's the weapons you use. For some reason, it just always feels like in Skyrim it matters more than in this game, where it just kind of feels like a chore.
It can, yeah, and that's what we're going to talk about a little bit towards the end of the episode too, is your plans and your dynamicness and what your ambitions are for retail WoW. But continue with Cataclysm.
So we were playing beta, right? Weren't we playing?
We were in the pre-patch.
We were in pre-patch.
And the game just got released last Tuesday. As we're recording, we record these on Thursday. The plan is to release them on Fridays. So it is 3 days after launch.
Right.
And I streamed for about 4.5 hours that first Tuesday, and I couldn't even get past.
You were already 70.
I was already level 80 as cap level. I was ready to go straight into the quest. I was on when they released the quests. I started Hyjal almost immediately. I got all my professions, and the mass amount of people that were doing it because of the linear questing made it impossible to progress in a timely manner. If you weren't playing at like 4 o'clock in the morning, you were surrounded by people. And I think that's good and bad. That shows that so many people are looking forward to playing Cataclysm Classic.
Or is that just because they only did a certain amount of servers?
It could be a lot of different reasons. I experienced it that as like, there's a lot of people playing this game. And they could be forced perspecting that with like combining all the servers or however they made it seem. whatever it might be, it was really cool to see that many people play the game. It felt like an actual expansion launch. And I think Classic has always done a very good job of that. Like, it always feels really, really hyped for like the first 2 weeks. We'll see how many people are still playing Cataclysm Classic in 2 weeks. We'll check back in that on the third episode of this series. But I'm interested to see how its survivability is going to be, because I feel like Classic always struggles with keeping people playing.
Right.
So moving on from the Classic experience, where it's like just so many people playing it right now and it's really cool and I'm very excited, to Season of Discovery, the other Classic, right?
But this is new Classic. This is like if Classic stayed Classic, and they like, instead of changing the things the way that they changed it in retail, they changed it for things that people liked about Classic and kept it going that way. Right.
And they've changed so many things about it that it's not even like I wouldn't even call it Classic anymore. I'd call it WoW 2.0. And really, like, even the Cataclysm Classic, the progression Classic system where they've gone from Classic to Cata right now, that's really WoW 2.0 in itself, because it's just a reiteration of the game 10 years later. So you could be a end game player. Your first experience of World of Warcraft could be the original Classic experience when that got launched a couple years ago.
But see, you're
to
like
Cataclysm right now, and you've just played through the game the same exact way we did.
So you don't feel like it's a lazy cop-out for Blizzard to just re-release the game they released 10 years ago and not even change a single thing?
It might be a lazy cop-out.
They're literally just letting you play the game again.
It is, yeah. It's kind of like when they remake movies. But for me, it's really interesting because, like, we experienced that history. So I get to bring you back in time to do something that I did when I was a child. There's nothing like that experience in the world. Like, when you take your loved one to, like, your old house that you grew up in, it's a very similar experience. We're like, hey, this is where I grew up in. My hands are on the doorstep. I used to play fetch with my friends in this yard. We're getting to do that in Classic Cataclysm right now, where I get to show you my previous history.
Yeah, but you're making it seem like the Cataclysm zones aren't the current zone.
They are. They are the current zones.
We could just go to Gilneas and start a new Worgen character right now.
You're right.
And it would be the same experience.
For me,
I just don't see the differences like you do.
Minutia that makes the experiences different enough for the reason of why they did it. First of all, I didn't think Cataclysm was different enough for them to ever release it until I played the pre-patch. The way that the questing works, the limited ability of your rotations, the way that the talent systems still are, you have to go learn abilities, like all of the minutia little things is what makes it a very different experience. And that's why I think it's worth doing. Now, did I ever think they'd get to Cata? No. Do I think they'll do Mists of Pandaria? Not really, especially because they just did Remix, which we'll talk about a little bit. But it's weird that there's Cataclysm Classic and then there's also Season of Discovery, which, like I said, is WoW, I guess in this sense, WoW 3.0, right?
No, it's like negative 0.5. Because it's just going back and making you play the game again. Instead of making new good content, they're just making you go play the content you miss.
But it's totally new content. It's totally different content. Like, the rune system can change your entire rotation.
Right. Okay, so if you want to start talking about the remix thing, that is fine. But you're once again just leveling a character in an expansion they've already previously released.
No, we're not talking about remix.
Oh.
We're talking about Season Discovery with the runes.
Oh, the Season of Discovery stuff's all new.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's all new stuff.
That's WoW 3.0.
I think if people are enjoying it and they like the rune system, then, like, keep playing it, keep enjoying it. I think that it's a game mode that not everyone's gonna like, but a lot of people will like. And it's not any more money. So it's not like you're paying extra for it. It's just free content, technically.
That's worth talking about. All of these 4 iterations of the game can be played for the same $15 a month that you're paying for retail, which is insane.
If you do the yearly or you do a WoW token, I mean, it's free.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, they have a way in-game for you to make money to a point where you can play the game for free.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I know a lot of people get mad about that. And I understand why people get mad about that. And we can have a small blurb about it if you want, because I think we previously talked about it in a different podcast.
Yeah. I'd rather not dive into the WoW token nonsense.
But it is an option for people to not have to pay to play the game.
Correct.
Is that you can play the game to get money in-game, and then in-game money can buy you a way of purchasing a subscription to the game.
Correct.
Now, I know there are other games that do that exact same thing and don't release new content, like, ever. Right? I mean... They don't release any new content. But even though all of these other games that have other ways of purchasing the subscription, they're not releasing new content like Blizzard's releasing new content right now. I mean, I think this is the most for your money they've ever provided.
Yeah, the only reason why I totally agree with you.
I mean, is that right? I mean, tell me there isn't the most content you've ever received from the company for the same amount of money.
Oh, hold on. Let's go to the left here.
They haven't raised the price of a subscription, right? I mean,
no, and the amount of content that's currently available to you in the game, you have 4 iterations of World of Warcraft right now available to you, which is crazy. Like, Blizzard's never put more love into WoW than currently. And the fact that we don't even know which one we're talking about, like, Vicky's been confused on which version of the game we're talking about right now because there's so many versions of the games. It's crazy.
I'm not even confused. It's just one of those things where it's like, I know that there's versions of the game that I just will never play, and that's okay for me. But I know for some people like you, like, I need to be up to date in all 4 versions of the game right now. I know you're not doing a lot of the Season of Discovery stuff because you've been doing all the newer things that they've just released.
Thanks for reminding me.
I know, and not to like rub it in because like I haven't even created a character on that. I have no intention of making a character on that.
Yeah.
Now, if I get bored with the current content that is released in retail or in Kata, then I can go, hey, well, maybe I'll try that Season of Discovery stuff. You know, it's just one of those things where like giving opportunity to people who pay a subscription to your game, to me, is the best value for that money. Because a lot of the times, you're going to pay a subscription for a game, and you're not going to get any content out of it. You're just going to get a release and, like, hey, the current price is whatever.
Correct, yeah. I think it's just wild, everything that they've been doing. So Season of Discovery just feels kind of left out. Like, it's wild that they're making new content for Classic. I never thought they'd ever do anything like that.
They're doing that just for the people who play it.
But how many people could actually be playing Classic Season of Discovery?
I'm sure they have the numbers, right? I'm sure they wouldn't be putting money and effort into it if they don't see a return on it. But I don't know how they value their work ethic. Like, I would love to see their back end stuff to see how they measure what would be worth putting money into if it encourages people to continue subscriptions or continue doing the things that...
Follow me to the left. I want to walk around the lake.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
I think there's going to be obviously the numbers.
Making money. They're not making any more money by releasing more stuff unless it gets people to resubscribe or new people to subscribe.
Correct.
So I'm sure they had like a release period of time. And you just said they just released that article. Didn't they just say with the response that they've gotten from the Mr. Pandaria remix, be advised, we will be working on remixes for the expansions we have not.
So before we start touching base on the Mr. Pandaria remix stuff, I want to finish up on Season of Discovery.
Oh, what else did you want to say about that?
I wanted to talk about, like, well, I mean, we touched base on a lot of it, but basically, right now, do you think it is worth them having Season Discovery and Classic Cataclysm?
Oh, I have no idea. I have no data. I have no
As a
no
player,
numbers.
Do you care about either or
No,
both?
I don't care about either. But I do think it's fun to play with you if you want to play those things. So it's easy enough for me to get on and play. It's not like it costs any more money, and it's not like it's really hurting me as a person to do it.
I think Cataclysm Classic is brilliant, and it's so well done, and it's very, very fun. It's so nostalgic, and it's great.
I just don't
I'm gonna
understand
put
what
a
you
couple.
mean. What is well done? It is already made. They didn't have to do anything. All they had to do is revert their stuff back to the way that they did
I don't know how
previously.
easy it is to revert the stuff back. It's not like we could go upload a video that I uploaded 5 years ago. You know, like we'd have to remake that type of content.
I don't know how game development works.
I don't know
to
either.
me,
I don't know how they could like revert the
It
patches.
just seems like they just released a game they've already released to you again. And
I
they're
just-
like, hey, by the way, you want to play this thing we gave you like 10 years ago?
I think it's a lot more complicated than that, and that's why it takes them so much time to release it and the schedules and
I
stuff.
mean, it might, but they might also just be finding ways of hedging their subscriptions.
Sure, they could
And
be.
they like don't want it. Well, as soon as it starts to dip down, then they'll start developing the next one, and then they'll just release it.
Interesting. I'm interested to know why you. I mean, I understand why you think that they're not worth it, and that's.
If it's worth it for some people, then that's great. But I am not the kind of person that's like, ooh, can't wait to do this new thing where I have to learn a bunch of new shit.
So
I hate even almost new expansions for that example. I wish it was just a continuation and not something that I have to now start from zero, learn on a bunch of new abilities, learn a new talent tree. Like, I hate that part of the game, but you love that part of the game. So
Yeah,
they're not making the game for people from like me. They're making the game for people like you who want to play the game
Sure.
and like have that nostalgic feeling of leveling up and learning a new character, or you just know all the abilities already, so you could just see the image and be like, oh, that's this, I can just put this here.
But that's why there's great add-ons to help you out with that kind of stuff. And speaking of add-ons, this segment of the stream is sponsored by Zygor Add-on, the ultimate add-on for World of Warcraft. You guys can see I have it currently uploaded here.
The all-in-one add-on.
It's used for basically everything you ever want to do. You want to make gold, you can make gold. You want to play Classic Cataclysm, you can go play Classic Cataclysm. If you want to go play retail, you can go play retail. Zygor works across all 3 versions of the game, and currently, actually, now, Mists of Pandaria Remix, the 4th version of the game. Zygor, up to date, the first day it came out, ready to go, so you don't get left behind while everyone else knows exactly what to do.
If you didn't know where to run to get back to the quest, or how to read the quests and understand all of the tiny details that is that type of gameplay,
or even care about it, Zygor will help you hand in hand, guide by guide, and get you to exactly where you need to go at the fastest, quickest way possible. Please use the link in the description to go give it a free try right now. Level up any character to level 10 for free using the guide. If you enjoy it, consider subscribing. It's about $10 a month, and I think it's absolutely worth it. Thank you so much, Zygor, for sponsoring this part of the podcast.
So, do you want to move on to the Mists of Pandaria stuff, or
Absolutely,
do you still
yeah.
have more? Because I feel like Mists of Pandaria, to me,
Well, let's do one
is
quick
done
question
really
here.
well. But go
Correct.
ahead.
So Mists of Pandaria is right before Warlords of Draenor, right after Cataclysm.
Right.
So it's interesting that they're doing the remix here, because it seems like they're setting up for Mists of Pandaria Classic right after Cataclysm drops. So another year, because the Classic servers really only last a year.
I don't think they need to do both.
I don't
think
either.
I think the remix is a good enough way of showing a modern expansion revisited, like
Correct.
Time Walking Dungeons.
Which is... So
I
do you think...
I think that's the better way of doing it than have it be, because it's in live game. You don't have to download a different version of the game. You don't have to log into a different version of the
Correct.
game. It can be on your character screen. When we get the war bands or whatever those
That'll
are
be
called,
War Within.
that will be the next expansion. You could still have your panda chilling doing the I have always said, and you can go back and watch one of our original podcasts where I said you should just be able to load in any character in any expansion and play that character in that expansion currently, and there be new stuff in that expansion.
There is new stuff in Mists of Pandaria Remix, but it's not like new stuff like Season Discovery. Like, Season Discovery feels like a completely different game, where Mists of Pandaria Remix feels like if an Eastern MMO developer like the Final Fantasy developer or Nexion that made MapleStory got their hands on World of Warcraft and made a ripoff of World of Warcraft. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I've had so much fun playing Mists of Pandaria Remix.
But it's the same storyline. It's the same Garrosh thing.
Yeah, there's nothing different about the story. The whole point of Classic is to revisit the story. This is a great way to revisit the story of Mists of Pandaria.
Right, but I've always said you should be able to level up a new character 1 through whatever the current thing is for the next expansion in whatever expansion you would want to do that in. And they've kind of done that.
Yeah, and I think
with
that's
the
what it is.
Chromie time.
Right.
But now they're making it a little bit more dynamic, where it's not just the same thing going on, and you can level up quickly and queue up quickly and do the raids and get some of the drops and get some of the stuff that you missed out on, because on the percentage of players who goes back and spams dungeons to get drops and loot things, and no one. I mean, I would say on a percentage, it's probably less than 10% of people go back and do Hellfire Citadel to get a mount. You know what I mean?
I mean, there's people that do go back to go collect. Like, I'm currently working myself through every expansion. I'm finished Eastern Kingdoms. I've got every single mount from vanilla. I'm currently working on the raid tiers from vanilla. I'm on tier 3 right now. And I am also getting every single quest completed on my main character, Red the Deer, the hunter I'm on right now. I'm halfway through Commandor. So when I finish Commandor, I'll start working on Burning Crusade. So when Remix first came out, and it allows you to basically unlock every single raid tier for every single class, every single mount that was available in the game, all the reputations are available to unlock, and every quest is able to do, all the rares able to kill, every achievement's able to do.
It's like the black market had a quest line, and you get to do that quest line. It's like time walking black market.
It's so hard to describe. You guys just have to go try it if you haven't tried it yet. Mists of Pandaria Remix is available on your retail character. You create a new character, you log in, you do it. none of this is sponsored by Blizzard. We're just fanboys. That's why it kind of sounds like we're basically praising them. But it is really fun.
I'm being critiquey. We're not just completely shooting lightning up their butts. You know, there are things that I think they are doing that is pissing people off, and I do think that there are almost too many things going on right now.
Yeah,
and
so
it's
we
like
could
we
talk.
kind of spread this out a little bit.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like, why are we doing Panda
Mm-hmm.
right now? Right as Cat is dropping.
It's crazy. The timeline doesn't make sense. I currently don't.
Why wouldn't they just
I have
wait?
summers off. So all the time frame I have, I wake up, I play World of Warcraft, I record some videos, I edit some videos, I stream, and then I go to bed. Then I do the same thing the next day, and I don't have to go back to my real life job until the end of summer. And I don't have enough time to play these 4 versions of the game. So if I'm struggling with it, people that work 9 to 5s or have kids or have other parts of their life, there's no chance that they're going to be able to play every part of the
But
game.
how many people are like, I need to play all 4 versions? Like, are there just people who are like, well, I'll play the Mist of Pandaria thing, but I'm not going to play that Season of Discovery stuff?
One of the balls get dropped. And I think 2 of the balls getting dropped right now is retail and Season to Discovery. I think no one is currently playing Season Discovery, and there's less people playing retail now that Miss of Pandaria is out.
Even with that new, like, flying around thing that you did last week, where you did all the...
Wrath of Lich King stuff? There was you mean the Northrend Cup?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're still releasing new content, and there was we're in Season 4, so the raid rotation's happening, and there's a lot of things that are going on. So, like, retail is still active, and it's still probably the most played version of the game currently. But it's crazy that they're doing all of this at the same time. So let's talk about the negatives of Miss of Pandaria before we move too much into retail. Miss of Pandaria had one major flaw, and that is balancing. Obviously, it was designed as make your character as overpowered as possible with your cloak and the threads of fate and how you make your cloak super strong and
Which
all
was
of the
still
gems.
same, like...
Still really cool. I think everyone was super excited about making themselves super powerful.
And wasn't that how it was in the expansion? It just
No.
took forever?
No, the legendary cloak was its own thing entirely,
Oh.
but it was an entire expansion long quest
Right,
that
so they're-
gave you a
so
legendary at the
they're
end.
doing it in a way that's expedited. They're
Kind
like, hey,
of.
we're gonna do it this way, but you're still gonna get that that
Mm-hmm.
illusion or role play of you getting a cloak and doing the whole cloak thing.
Maybe. My understanding of why they did it was a really cool gimmick that you could focus on like heirlooms while you level a character. And the fact that the cloak transfers some stats to your next character makes it so that way you just keep chain running alts and level up as many characters as you want to during this 90-day period.
It's like a different version of the Mage Tower.
If Mage Tower was designed for leveling you up. Yeah, sure. If you want to look at it
Because
like
that was supposed to be end game progression.
The Mage Tower is like
You're the best of the best. Can
super,
you make it as high up
yeah,
the ladder
has
as
not,
possible?
I think those are completely 2 separate game systems. I don't know how you're making that comparison.
I'm making it a comparison as like when you feel like there's nothing else to do in the game, what else could I do? Oh, I could either level up a new character slowly like we normally do, or we could do it this way. Or I could just go play the Mage Tower and try to be the best of the best and just kind of like doing something that feels productive but really isn't taking you anywhere. Like after you're done with your Mr. Pandaria character, it's going to disappear.
No, they transfer over to retail. That's the whole point of leveling them up. So the Miss Pandaria character,
But
like
I thought they
the
literally
moment
said it's going to go away. Like it's only going to be like a month
Miss
long thing.
Pandaria remix goes away, but all the characters you've made on it and everything you've collected in it transfers to your main account.
Huh.
That's what makes it such a viable reason to play it. Like I need to like I'm
If you want like 12 different characters, I mean,
and I do. I'm trying to level up every single character to
yeah,
max
but
level.
how many people are for you? It's amazing, but like for other people, they're probably like,
So this is where it becomes interesting. Because of this cloak system, and one of the negatives was balancing, instead of using Miss Pandaria Remix as like an amazing way to level up characters and have fun with alts, people have abused the system to create the most godly characters in the game by doing these exploits that were in the game, such as the frog exploit. Basically, there was a area in the Timeless Isle where you could mass kill frogs pretty easily, and they had a higher chance to drop stamina threads. So you could get characters with like 50,000 stamina and basically just one-shot bosses, because a lot of the gems have to do with you get a percentage of your health taken away and you do that much damage to the boss and other gimmicks like that. So now you've got these godlike characters in a 90-day locked scenario that are one-shotting bosses, basically ruining the experience of giving you the ultimate expansion Miss Pandaria experience again. So for me, like when I go run a normal raid, because you can level up while doing raids now. Some of the raids unlock at level 20, 25, 30, 35, and so on. And if you want to run the LFR version, you can. If you want to try to find a group and run normal or heroic, you can also do that if you want more of a challenge. But none of it is challenging if you've got a Holy Priest that does 4.6 million damage in 7 seconds and one-shots a boss.
But people don't, not everyone likes a challenging experience.
You're right, but I feel like the whole heart and glory of what Miss Pandaria Remix was supposed to be was expedited, fun playthrough of an entire expansion over 90 days. And we now will never be able to experience what those raids were like, how challenging they were when they first were released because of the people who exploited this system.
They could also stat squish those people.
Yeah, but how do you punish the people that just did something in the game? This wasn't like they cheated or hacked. This was just an exploit of like a drop rate that someone discovered was too high. And the spawn rate was too high, so it's an easy farm, and people took advantage of it. It got posted on content on Twitter, and everyone did.
I don't think anyone is crying about not doing mechanics in raids, Red. I think
True.
you're the only person who gets upset with like, this isn't the way it normally was.
Yeah, I know. Like I did the Siege of Orgrimmar raid.
This isn't as nostalgic as I remember.
I was a little upset. I did the Siege of Orgrimmar raid on normal.
Where some people are probably like, the mechanics in this were so stupid, and I'm so happy we don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah, and I was trying to explain the Garrosh fight to her, where it's like, all right, great, we have to go kill one of the engineers, and then we knock back all the ads into the other one, and then we fight Garrosh, he does the spin, we have to move away, we have to attack his axe. Like, I was trying to describe the mechanics as this feral druid was just ripping into Garrosh. And I think we phased him and killed him in like 6 minutes.
He got the blood dripped on him in like the wrong spot.
Yeah, he like bugged out.
He got all messed up for sure.
It was crazy, and I just thought it was a bit dull, and I wish it was a little bit more exciting and very nostalgic and fun to go back and do those raids, because like I basically
you
got
like raids that have fun, complicated things. I think most people like don't like that.
For me, it's like if I wanted to go run Siege of Orgrimmar right now on these two tunes, I would get the exact same experience I just got in Miss Pandaria Remix, and I think that's not the point of Miss Pandaria Remix. But because it's Pandora's box and it's already opened and people did exploit the system and they kind of ruined the point of the game, it's now Pandora's box and now it's exploited, and they changed it to where other people can't even enjoy that type of system. So the people that are gods get to stay gods and the people that aren't will not. I'm interested to see how many of those people that are trying to create the strongest characters possible will continue to play Miss Pandaria Remix in like 4 or 5 weeks. Like
it's only a month long.
It's 90 days.
So we're already a week in.
So 45 days. No, we're 5 days in. Remix has been out for 5 days.
Well, I'm already over it. So I mean, to me, it's like, I get why they did it, and I think it's super cool for people that maybe didn't play it when it was live, right? Because there's so many people who are like, I'm not going to play that expansion, stupid pandas. Like, it's not Asian enough for me. It's too authentic Asian for me, which, I don't know. I really kind of like the aesthetic of that whole zone, and I do like making a panda, and I like going through that starting zone. But, like, the idea of doing an entire expansion, and you know what? And maybe this is just me not being able to tie it to anything. Like, maybe when we go through Legion Remix, I'll be like, oh, this is so amazing. This is the coolest thing ever. I remember all of these things. This is so much fun. And my tune will totally change.
Yeah, that's worth talking about. Like,
because I've never had the nostalgia of doing it the first time, so
like,
I'm like, why are we just doing this again? Like, this is the same thing as starting in the starting zone as a panda. Like, this is not.
But they're so different. You always use like your experience with the game is just starting zones because you've never leveled up characters after level 10.
Yeah.
So like you don't even know, like you've never been to Kunlai Summit.
No.
You've never.
Would I, though?
But
like,
why wouldn't you go do Miss Pandaria Remix to go experience that quest zone?
What does it matter for my character? I'm too much of a why does my character give a shit about this?
At the time, you have to like put your character in a role play situation where you're just back in Miss Pandaria. You're gonna try to save Anduin.
Yeah, but I know he. You know what I mean? It's just like one of those
you
things.
You can't metagame?
No, I guess not.
You like force yourself to metagame? You're like, oh, Anduin's fine. I don't care about this.
Kinda, yeah. And
you gotta role play.
I don't get into this game like that for some reason. Every other game I've ever played in, I like get all into my character. Why my character's here. I give it a whole backstory. And like in this game, it's just like, oh, who am I on? Oh, okay, cool. At least it's my druid. Like, I don't know. Something about the gameplay, and you always talk about like, well, it's the way you quest. And I'm like, no, it's where you're questing. I could care less about the words on the page. I want to be somewhere new.
Which
I
is
want to be somewhere cool. And
that's
then
kind of like
when
why would you not want to go to Kunlai? You've never done it before.
but it's the same. I've done it though. It took too long to get to the part where I've already done. You know what I mean?
You've played through Jade Forest, so you didn't want to go back through Jade Forest to get to Kunlai.
Yeah.
Which
I
is
didn't
why
want to have to go through the whole quest chain just to get to the quest chain I haven't done yet.
Which is why
That's why the
Kunlai
game loses me, though. Like, it has you do the same thing over and over and over again.
Like, that's why Chromie time is so good for you.
I said that's how the game should just be. I don't know why they even started doing these remix things. I love the time walking dungeons because I know the dungeons.
But you just talked about how you wish that you could just level up through an entire expansion per character. Like, you just pick an expansion you chose.
I actually don't like the leveling experience at all. I think you as a new person, not me, anyone starting this game, should be like, okay, what expansion did someone say I would really love? Oh, they said I would love Legion because of the way that, like, the lore is about Illidan, because I played Warcraft 3, and, like, I really love the idea of that character. Okay, then I will play through that experience to get to my max level. And that's what they did with the Chromie time, where you could go through that expansion from 0 to whatever, right?
But Chromie time has its flaws because it is so expedited, and because, like, we are so strong and powerful and we can do dungeons and raids and other things, that you get to max level before you even finish 3 zones in. Where Mists of Pandaria Remix, if you just quest, you will go through the entire expansion and get to max level right when you finish. Coughlin just did it.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's how it should be. You should level up with the quests. I know it was not always structured that way, because even in Battle for Azeroth, we were max level halfway through Borealis.
Correct.
And that was annoying.
Yeah.
I was like, why are we already max level?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, because we spammed dungeons for three hours because we wanted to get all the dungeons and get all our gear, and we want to be at max level right away. Like, the game should be leveling, but for some reason this game is always focused on endgame instead of going through the process.
Which is why I'm so surprised you don't like Season of Discovery, because basically that entire game
fair. I mean, I haven't even tried it to be
is
fair,
just
so,
leveling.
I don't know if I like it. I haven't done it, so I could like it.
I recommend you try it.
I mean, I might, but I also have a cap on this game for some reason. I cannot just sit here at the screen pressing the same 5 buttons for more than a few hours. Like, I just can't for some reason. It's just not in me. Where some people I know can just continuously play this game and continuously find things that are interesting to them, and that's good. You should be able to. That's why the game is created for people. But no, for some reason I have like a cap, and my cap is like that first starting zone, and then I'm like, I'm fucking done playing this game. Like, I just get to a point where I'm just done, and I don't know why. They are giving us new things to do, and it just still isn't grabbing my attention for some reason.
So, moving on to basically, like, from Season Discovery, from Mists of Pandaria Remix, from all of the different versions of the game to, like, retail, the actual current game of World of Warcraft. What are your goals and ambitions for, like, what you want to play in retail? Like, what do you look for in this game? Like, why do you play it?
I don't have anything in this game that makes me want to get on and play it.
So why do you still play?
Because you play.
Only because I play?
And for content, and because I look pretty and I like the way that I look, but I don't want to have to work hard to look good. Like, I was always the kind of person who, like, wanted to be in a game with my friends and play, like, even when we played Destiny, it was all about the shaders. It was all about hanging out in the tower with my friends and just talking to them and, like, hey, do you want to go do this quest with me? And like, yeah, sure, let's go do this quest. I could care less about that quest. I was just doing it to hang out with my friends. Like, even the Mists of Pandaria thing, we were doing it with our friends. That was the only reason that I continued doing it. And then when I got to my threshold of, like, all right, I'm done questing, I got off. And unfortunately, that's just not, you know, that's just the way it is. That's just my gaming experience with the game. And I don't know why.
Do you think Blizzard could ever make something that makes you want to play the game?
Absolutely.
What would it
Character
be?
housing. 100%.
That's it?
Anything that allows me to change what this looks like, change what these look like, change what my garrison... The garrison was the closest thing they had to me. I didn't even have to leave the zone to finish things. That would have been dope. I could have done daily quests. I could have put together a bunch of... I even liked the way that you could send... The class order halls were cool. I messed with those a lot in Legion. I loved those. I hung out in my class order hall. I was always doing the quests that they gave you. I was always checking in to see if I could get new cosmetics. Like, that was interesting to me. And then it was your Revendreth. Like, I loved being in Revendreth and having to go, like, how much mana do I have to get today? Okay, I have to get this much stuff. And then, okay, how much
So you
World
like
quest do I have to do today?
the
Okay.
synchronized Covenant, Class Order Hall, Garrison, like the little zones that you get to like
Yes.
kind of build up and customize and
Yes.
make stronger and better.
Yes, absolutely.
So you like simulation design building. And I'm surprised
Obviously.
that World of Warcraft has never done housing. I really am surprised that they've
I mean,
never
that's
done
the
it.
best part about Wizards 101 is literally unlocking cosmetics to put in your dorm room. Like, it's literally the coolest part. And then you can upgrade your dorm room to be like an island and then like a big an extra realm. That's the best thing about Harry Potter was your room of requirement.
Yeah, you did like the room of requirement.
Like,
in
it's just
the
that's
Legacy
what I
game.
like about video games. I want to feel like that's why I like Planet Zoo. That's why I like
But
Animal Crossing.
here's
Those are the types of games I like. This game does not cater to that.
Here's the
idea.
problem with like player housing though, right? So say that they give you to be able to put player housing anywhere and you can get the terrain of any zone you want to as your baseline. So Elwyn Forest, so we'll say like your house is just like this little plot of land right over here. And you have the trees and the grass from Elwyn Forest and it could be any zone you like.
Right.
To get this barracks, you have to go run Mythic Raid.
I'm not mythic rating ever. That's not my game
So
style.
that's
There's
what
no
everyone
way.
is
I would just-
really worried
I
about.
would get something else. I would get whatever I could unlock.
So you wouldn't be upset that there's things that are really cool for your house, like
No,
this
I
catapult.
would just pay people for them, probably.
So you would pay for a mythic boost to get the garrison.
Probably, because that's what I did for Animal Crossing. If there was a piece of item that I really, really wanted, you could go on the trade website and literally just buy it off somebody. If you had a recipe that you needed to have a thing for and you didn't have that thing for it yet, you could just go get someone that could give it to you for real money.
That was true. Animal Crossing did make like a trade website that like basically a black market auction house for like certain things in the game and different designs and custom items and whatnot because of their design system.
Yeah, there was like a whole line of a design, and then they literally came out with a game that I love. They came out with an expansion where you get to just design people's rooms.
Yeah.
That's all I ever really wanted out of the game, and I was getting that. That's why so many people are like, you would love Sims, you would love Sims. And I'm like, yeah, but like, I like sandbox Sims, you know? I don't know. Maybe I would like Sims, who knows? But,
For me, I think player housing will have a lot of pitfalls and it won't be nearly as good as people want it to be. I think the garrison was the best example of how it could be. Let's walk through there. I've not walked through barracks in a long time. And for me, it's like, to be able to unlock these cool lion statues or to get these, like, they could make them dungeon drops or rare drops or anything like that, but like people will just eventually lose interest in farming and designing their house. And the other problem is
there will be, but then you get a new house, and then you get an upgraded house.
when you go to Stormwind, you go to Veldraken right now, and it's populated, and there's people running around, and there's people going to the auction house and the bank, and there's people training professions or fishing or doing other things or getting ready for queues or dueling or practicing the rotation. Like, no one would ever be in any capital city if you have your own house. And I think that's where Wizard 101 succeeds, because all of the stuff that you do in the house is on like a really, really, really long cooldown. Like 8 hours, 16 hours for certain things. So for them to make that's exactly what the Garrison was. Garrison was daily cooldown stuff. But the problem was, like, World of Warcraft is a queue-based game at this point. Everything you can do in the game, you can queue up for. Even doing mythic raids, you could join a queue system and do a queue. And it's crazy to me.
Look how easy it would be to just let us have a house like this.
Yeah, but we would never leave.
Yeah, what the fuck?
It's an
Of
MMO.
course.
You're supposed
I
to.
know my friends come over and visit.
No
I
one-
post my pictures online.
Garrisons didn't have the availability for other people to go to your
That was
garrison
the stupidest
until
thing.
halfway through the
They
expansion.
should have let people go instantaneously.
And
You could
still-
queue up. You could have a co-op.
Correct. And still, I mean, they added the system. They knew it was a bad idea. And still, no one ever went to other people's garrisons. You just still did your own garrison. And you just queued up for dungeons and raids.
Some people who were playing the game back then, it was before its time. You know what I mean? Like,
You think so?
I think, yeah, think about when that came out and tell me what other games came out during that time that people were really enjoying that type of gameplay. There will be people who, if they do player housing, will make characters just to design stuff in this game and will never play the game. Like, there are people who just want to design things in game. Like, that is the point of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Listen,
It's
like I said, they're not making the game for me. They're making the game for people like you that have played since vanilla, who have continued to play, who have never broke a sub. They're not making the game for people like me who want the game to be something that it's not. They're not.
Do
They
you
tried
think,
that before and it didn't work.
what is the percent of people that have never broke a sub? What do you think that is?
Probably like 20% of the game.
You think 20% of the people that have played the game have never broke a sub from the first time they sub?
I mean, I don't have any data to back that up, but I would assume that most people just let that shit ride. Yeah.
I think it's 1% or
You
less.
think you're on a 1%er?
I think I'm a 1%er. I've been playing the game, especially for how long I've been playing. For people who've been playing since vanilla, I started playing at the tail end of vanilla, right when Encourage got released. That was when I first started playing. I didn't get my first max level character until Burning Crusade, and I started raiding in Wrath. I didn't really do any raiding in Burning Crusade. I just started dabbling in it towards the Sunwell Plateau and towards Tempest Keep. But basically, I've never not had a sub. I have been subscribed to World of Warcraft for almost 16 years.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of
You've like
commitment.
literally nothing that shows you that you've done that besides your brain. You don't even get a cool little like nameplate.
I
or
got
anything.
feats of strength, you know. There's certain things that you do get, like
My thing is that
well,
like,
this character I recently switched to.
oh right.
Like
Well, like, my thing is that,
2/24/22 was when I made a new main, and that's this character. So this character's only 2 years old. With 39 days, 13 hours, and 32 minutes played. So I don't have nearly as much playtime on this character as I do on my Paladin, but my Paladin was the character I made in Classic, was the character I race changed to a Draenei in Burning Crusade, and then I leveled up all the way through and had that Paladin still to this day.
I'm also excited about your what's its
All the
name?
transmog changes.
All the transmog changes might get me back in the game. All of the reputations might get me back into the game.
Yeah,
because
all
then
the
I won't
stuff
have
getting
to
combined.
everything becoming combined as like a you are the character, and this is just like you putting down the character you want to play at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
That might change a lot because that was one of the biggest frustrating things is that like you are starting from zero. All of the hard work you've put into this game means nothing when you start a new character. And that has always pissed me off. Like the mounts finally becoming cross character were like really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And the transmogable things being able to be I've picked up so many pieces that I could use on other characters, and now I'm gonna have to go back and do those again because I wasn't able to have those transmog pieces because I wasn't able to equip them, so I could not actually have them.
Mm-hmm.
Which always used to piss me off. Because what if I do want to play a monk and I don't have a monk character right now to send it to? And
It's so interesting to me that drove you crazy because I think starting a new character, the freshness of it, the fact that nothing's unlocked, used to be the best part of Classic.
oh my god, it's like all the hard work you put into it was for naught.
Correct. Which is the reason why I don't play Classic now, because if everything you collected in Classic transitioned back into retail,
Yeah, like,
I
why
would play.
can't I have the mount that I have in that game in retail? What would be the
Now,
point of getting it
I
in
don't-
Classic if I can't use it in retail?
I think it goes only one way, though. I don't think anything you collect in retail should go backwards. I don't think I should be able to get on my aspects of the Dragon mount on retail, but I think if I got a brand new mount in retail that I had never gotten or on Classic that I'd never gotten on retail, like if I go and I get the Alex Straza mount from Dragon Soul while playing Classic Cataclysm, I should get that on my main account on retail. And it's crazy to me that doesn't trans
Mist is
over.
the best, I think.
And that's why
Mist
Remix is
done
such a cool system.
the
Now,
best way.
now we're getting into the predictions because we're wrapping stuff up. We're only doing hour episodes here. So we'll be able to talk about a lot of this stuff next week. Again, episodes drop on Friday, but we'll do a little prediction for each segment. So all 4 things that we talked about today. Cataclysm Classic. Do you think it will survive to the point where people are forming guilds and running endgame content in its current state?
Oh, I'm sure people will.
I'm sure people will too. I think there's
But
already
then
guilds
what
forming and
happens
raids will be ran.
What happened to the last Classic expansion?
Wrath of the Lich King.
What happened to that?
People still played it up until people were running the raids up until the day that Cataclysm dropped. I was gonna run a heroic ICC raid.
So, but you can't go back now and go play Wrath of the Lich King. Right
You
now.
can in that in Classic, you can go back and do those raids if you'd like to, but it's the exact same reason why we don't go do Shadowlands stuff. It's previous content. You don't care to go do it. You want to keep moving
But
forward.
isn't that the whole bit? See, that's the thing that WoW loses me. They just keep growing the same game instead of keeping the game the same in the same universe.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not its own subcategory. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, you're not
For me, it's like, so this goes into the remix prediction, right? Do you think they're going to continue with the classic format and continue doing Miss Pandaria Classic and then Warlords of Draenor Classic? Or do they do Miss Pandaria Remix and they just remix all of the expansions and they'll have the remix available for all characters to be created? And when you create a character, you choose what expansion you want to be in, and then you just level up through that expansion rather than just leveling up through retail's Chromie time.
I mean, that's what I predicted years ago, and I said I don't know why they don't just have that availability, that you don't make a new character and choose what expansion you want to level that character up through. Now, I do think that...
Do you think it will replace Classic? Do you think they're going to continue with Classic if they do a remix of every expansion?
I don't understand. Truthfully, I don't even understand Classic, besides the fact that people who used to play the game that are mouth breathers, like, want to keep playing the game back the way that they used to when they were, like, 12.
For me, it's like what I described earlier, where someone could have played Classic Cataclysm, like when me, you, and Sebastian made characters in Classic, when Classic first came out 2.5 years ago. We could have leveled those characters to max, joined a guild, raided, done dungeons, then transferred them to Burning Crusade, did the exact same thing, then transferred them to Wrath, did the exact same thing, then transferred them to Kata, did the exact same thing, right?
Isn't that the same thing as making a character
but that's
now, though?
that's their WoW experience. They don't even have to ever play retail. They could just be people who've only ever played Classic.
Isn't it the same as retail, though?
It's totally different. It's the same as retail in the sense of they're playing it on a different timeline. Like their WoW journey started 2 years ago, and they're now just getting to Cataclysm. Where my WoW journey started 15 years ago, and now I'm in Dragonflight. So like I'm already past my Cataclysm.
I think what they ruined is they started changing very big aspects of the game, expansion to expansion.
And
right?
that's what they're getting away from.
And they're trying to change that. They're trying to get the game back to a place where everyone likes the way that the game is formatted. Because instead of keeping things the way that they were, they started changing things about the game that changed how you played the game, right? And
the system you're talking about is called Borrowed Power. Right. And it's basically every expansion, there was some really cool gimmicks and fun things that they gave you, but it was borrowed. It wasn't forever.
And then it goes away.
Right. So,
and so
what they're
how
doing
do you emulate that? How do you emulate that experience again?
That's exactly the point of Classic, is to go back and feel how awesome it was to have your garrison, to feel how awesome it was to get Shadowmourne for the first time on live content, to go back and kill Ragnaros for the first time.
See, I think it's cool to go back when you can like one-shot. That's more fun.
To each their own.
I don't think it's fun when the game is harder.
Some people want to relive the moments that they didn't get to accomplish. I never got to raid endgame content in Classic. In Vanilla, I started too late and I was way too young. I didn't understand how. I should have put more effort in when Classic first got dropped, the original Vanilla Classic 2.5 years ago, so I could experience what raiding was like in Vanilla. To the closest one-to-one comparison capability, that's the beauty of Classic. To go back and do things you didn't get the chance to do when you got to play, or if you never got to play it. Which is why I thought you'd be so into Classic or Season of Discovery, because you've never done those things. So now you get to go back and experience them for the first time. Now, where I think Classic falls off was Cataclysm. I never thought they'd do Classic Kata. I really didn't, because basically the retail game is Classic, is Kata, but it's not. And because of the PTR and because of what I've been able to quest with, all right. Well, now we're going to get...
Are we back in Culture?
Yeah, we are. Let's go ahead over to Northshire Abbey and we'll end there. But I'm excited to see what they decide to do. If Miss Pandaria Remix becomes the default for leveling alts, and they basically just replace Chromie time with Remix, when you make a character, you choose what expansion you level up through, you're in your own little bubble dimension of that expansion, and there's fun systems in them to help you level up faster. I think that would be a really cool way to help people experience expansions. But why have Classic available if you're just going to have Remix available?
Because what they're doing with Classic is they're keeping the game mechanics different than the Remix. You can still instant queue. You can still do things like that.
Yeah.
Where they didn't have that in Classic. You had to run to the stone and click on the stone.
Correct.
And
in Cataclysm, you have all the queues, though. We can queue up for dungeons on our level 15 character in Kata and level up really, really quickly.
See, I thought they weren't going to do that. I thought what they were going to do with the Classics is that they were going to do it the way we should have done it.
Yeah.
Instead of changing things
Hashtag no changes, right? That's definitely changed. The mentality on hashtag no changes has changed completely to hashtag change all the things that sucked to all the things that don't suck. And now the game's actually enjoyable to play.
Yeah, I don't know. I for someone who played in Modern, Wow.
You started at the end, the tail legs. She joined and started playing World of Warcraft at Hellfire Citadel in Warlords of Draenor.
Yeah, my first experience in the game was you loading up into your garrison, and I was like, "Oh, this is so cool." And
Yeah.
then like you were like, "Yeah, but no one does." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "Well, this is kind of cool." And
Yeah,
you were like, "Yeah, but we're not gonna do this. This is just where I keep all my stuff."
I was
I'm
like, yeah, it's
"Okay."
not cool. Don't
I'm
look
like,
at this garrison.
Okay, I was like, okay, well, I thought this part was kind of fun, and then as soon as, and don't get me wrong, like, I loved Legion.
Yeah.
I played all the way through Legion. We rated in Legion. Like, I thought, and it was also like we had just played through Warcraft 3, so it was also something that like you were getting to show me the game, and then we were like we were lining right up lore wise with the game we just finished, with like a jump forward to us killing the Burning Legion, which is like the whole storyline of Warcraft 3 is the Burning Legion.
It was good timing to do Warcraft 3 right before Legion, and we did a good job with that. Now,
And that was just how it worked for me.
because
So,
you didn't really get to play Draenor, but you started in Draenor the same way that I did Classic, if they released Classic Draenor or Remix Draenor, which one would you rather play?
probably Remix.
That is so very interesting.
Because I would want to be overpowered. I would want to be able to go through quick. I don't want to have to grind a bunch of stuff.
You don't want to have to like do like a raid release schedule where now we get to do High Mall and then we get to do.
Absolutely
Interesting.
Not. That's why I like time walking dungeons, because it allows me to do the dungeons I've never done before, but be at the character I am now. If you're going to introduce time travel in a game, you should be able to be who you are in any expansion and one-shot things like you're the most badass thing that ever existed. I shouldn't have to go back to a peon that has like cloth loins over her body.
The only thing they're missing out on Remix and with Classic itself is I cannot put my Hunter, currently Red the Deer, I cannot play my Hunter in Remix Pandaria, and I think that's the biggest mistake. For me to be able
You
to
have to make a new character.
You have to make a new character, and I think if I could just make a clone of Red the Deer on that server, and then when the server ends, it just goes away, it dies, or whatever happens to it. I think that would be so much better of a system, however they can make it work, because currently, yes, you're right, I have a reason to level up characters, because I'm doing a challenge where I have every race to max level.
You've
but
given yourself
you don't have a reason to play it, because
No.
you don't want to level up a character.
I do not want to level up a new character.
But
I want my character
you
I'm
also
playing right
want
now.
all the mounts, and you do want the transmog. I've seen you want those things.
Right. Well, that gave me. They made something for me to be interested in
So
wanting.
now you're being forced to make a new character to
I
do
am.
that,
I am.
rather
The
than
game is
uploading
forcing
your
me-
character.
Yeah, the game is forcing me to start a new character, which kind of pisses me off.
So I think if they
Because I
came
hate
up with,
starting a new character. It's like the worst thing. I don't know my abilities.
Yeah.
It's like, ugh.
it is awful for you. So there's obviously bad things for every version of the game, but it's interesting to me that even with 4 versions of the game, there's still not enough content for some people, and I think that's so funny, and I'm glad we talked about that.
I don't think that's possible. I mean, there is, but it's,
You just said today, like, you would rather there's nothing keeping you playing the game right
there's
now.
not content I want. There is enough content. They are giving me content. It's just not content I want.
Correct. So you still are missing things, even though there's 4 versions of the game available.
Absolutely.
That's how crazy big World of Warcraft. But we're going to go and wrap things up here. Thank you so much for checking out Season 2 of our Sleighingit.Online podcast. We're going to try to do a weekly release, probably about 10 episodes, and if it goes well, we'll continue doing it after that. Thank you for walking with us through World of Warcraft. Again, my name's Red the Deer. Go follow my channel on YouTube and Twitch. Catch me live where you can.
I'm Victoria Aurora, and if you like Planet Zoo and not this game, go watch my stuff.
Thank you guys so much, like we said, and until next time, play smart, play with your heart, always be red-nosed. Slayers out.
Slayers out.